the Prep Baseball Wisconsin scouting director and pre- and post-game show for the Brewers, play-by-play for the Brewers, Vinny Rottino. So, Vinny, thank you for hopping on.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Guys, you guys do an unbelievable job in the state of Illinois in general, but especially on this podcast. This is a big honor for me to join this podcast. The Bullpen. I'm officially a member of the Bullpen. Love it.
That's right. No, not only are we lucky to have you on this podcast, Vinny, but in my opinion, we're lucky to have you in our ecosystem. I'm lucky enough to go up to a lot of those Wisconsin events that you're running, and I get to listen to you talk to the players before an event. And you, I think, embody like what a lot of these players are that we're seeing, back when you were in high school. I think a lot of these players could take something from you played D3 baseball in Wisconsin and you grinded your way through your college career. You continued to get better. And I preach that to our players all the time in Illinois. It's just about getting better and competing. And it's not about where you are when you're 14, 15, 16. And you grinded through D3 baseball. You end up making it to the major leagues. You carve out a really, really impressive career, play for a couple different clubs, the Brewers being one of them. And now you're able to get there, to be involved with the pre and post. You get to talk to everybody, in the organization, the day-to-day. And Gavin, I think the cool thing for us today is, hey, it's Brewers, Cubs, NLDS, and you have a lot of just info. You were with Craig Counsell last year, or 2 years ago, I guess, as he was the manager. Now Pat Murphy's come along. Both of those guys. So just some really cool dynamics, and really happy that you could join us.
Yeah. Let me just touch on quickly, just maybe a message for whoever's listening, of players that, I was an undersized, underdeveloped, physically kind of just was waiting to mature in high school, and I was not recruited. I was recruited by 3 schools, all Division III. One of them was UW La Crosse, another one was UW Whitewater, and the third was Madison Edgewood College. And at the time, La Crosse and Whitewater were not powerhouses yet. They were both kind of up-and-coming programs. This is before Coach Vodalik took over the program. This at Whitewater. This was before Coach Schwarz took the program over. In fact, I played with Chris Schwarz. We were about middle of the pack, maybe a little bit above middle of the pack at UW La Crosse. I went there because I had some family in the area at La Crosse, right? So I grew up in Racine, went to Racine St. Catherine's High School, 3.5 hours away from La Crosse. I went there because I liked the school first and foremost. But it was a great fit for me, guys, because it was an opportunity for me to go and play and develop at the college level right away. I didn't develop physically until I was a junior in college. And by then, because I grinded so hard and worked on my skills so hard at the beginning part of my college career, I hit 240 my sophomore year. Yet the coach still got me in the lineup because I played a decent shortstop, not great. So defensively I was sound and I played the game really hard. And again, I worked basically harder than anybody, that the coach continued to play me even though I was going 0 for 8 in a doubleheader. And I hit 240 as a sophomore. Finally, I grew my junior year, and I grew physically. I got stronger. The game started to get easier for me at that point. But I didn't really realize that I could become a pro prospect until I had some success at the Division III level, and I didn't get drafted. My senior year, I was an All-American. I was runner-up to Player of the Year in Division III baseball. Didn't get drafted. Ended up signing out of a tryout down in Arizona. I begged the scout to sign me. My point in telling you guys all this, and whoever's listening that has dreams and aspirations to play at the next level, not only in college, but maybe potentially have an opportunity to play in professional baseball, there's stories out there like me, like Caleb Durbin for the Milwaukee Brewers, who was in every one of your backyards, basically. Grew up in, was it Libertyville High School? Lake Forest High School.
Caleb should have been Lake Forest, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So you just never know how you're going to pop once you get to college. You never know how you're going to develop. You just got to have that burning desire to play and love the game. That's how you guys are going to get better and get to your ceiling. You have to love the game. And be one of those winning grinders that coaches love. I got so many, last thing I'm going to say on this is I got so many breaks along the way because my coaches and my managers always fought for me. They always have my back. I know for a fact they did in the meetings whenever I was being talked about, hey, should this kid go to AA? Should we release him? That was actually a conversation in my first spring training. Should we release this kid? Because I did not show out well in spring training right away. I was older than everybody, but I had a couple of coaches go to bat for me because they saw how much I loved the game and how hard I worked at the game and how much I wanted to get better, that they said, hey, let's just keep this kid around for one extra season. Or, hey, let's send this kid to AA because I think he's ready. Every conversation was different depending on where I was in my career. But my point is, I had so many guys go to bat for me because of the way that I approached the game. And how much I loved it, and they knew I was going to do everything I could to get better. And so that's why, if I could give you one piece of advice, if you're listening to this podcast, is to don't have anybody ever, don't have it be the reason why you didn't get an opportunity is because maybe you didn't play the game hard enough. I played with my hair on fire, and for that reason, I got so many breaks because coaches and managers knew I was a winning player because of that. So you use that little piece of advice as you move forward in your career.
I mean, that to me is like goosebump stuff, because that's just who you are. At least from where I've sat, like, you've earned everything you've gotten in this world, and in your professional life too. Now with the Brewers and trying to get better, and the amount of work, preparation you put into that, and I love it. Like, yeah, you probably played hard, but I guarantee you it was a lot more than that. It was being a good teammate. It was being coachable. It was being on time. It was, staying after and, putting in the hours. It was probably, going up to a coach and picking his brain and, wanting to be better. Like, I feel like you had that, and you still have that with everything you do today. So I love that story, Vinny, and I really do hope some, players and parents are out there listening. Like, you got to earn it in this world, and you got, like, nothing's given to you, but you can help yourself catch some breaks or put yourself in good positions by just being a good person, being a good human being, and working your freaking tail off. And I love that.
That's it in a nutshell. I mean, it really is. I mean, you think about, that goes for any walk in life. Like, who do you want to be your colleague to go to, do whatever with every single day? You want someone with a great attitude that wants to get better, that's going to be coachable. I love that, Drew. Be coachable, but not too coachable, right? So at times, like, there's a balance there in terms of, yes, you want to be coachable, but you also want to have some confidence in yourself. There's a little bit of a fine line there. So those are all things that players you can learn as you go along. Be coachable for sure, 100%. Have a great attitude. Have a winning attitude every single day. But those little nuances that I just talked about, that little nugget right there, don't be too coachable. Have a lot of confidence in yourself. Those are things you will learn along the way if, again, you have a passion for getting to be as good of a player as you can be, and you will uncover every little thing that you can learn along the way. That even could be not only listening to this podcast and catching something that one of these guys is going to say during this podcast, or maybe it's another podcast, or maybe it's a book you can read. Like, those are all things that I did along the way to get to be the best player. Like, I probably had no business, just in terms of my talent level, playing in the big leagues. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with myself, but again, like, I just made it happen.
Vinny, so I mentioned before, you do the pre and post game show for the Brewers, Brewers Live, and then, throughout the season you'll kind of get on play-by-play as well. You bring up Caleb Durbin, kind of getting into this Brewers Cubs series, and the similarities between yourself and just kind of your story with Caleb, both playing Division III baseball. He played at Washington University. I know he's kind of had a big role with the team this year, and just kind of doing some research. He got traded. I think the Brewers traded for him this year, or maybe last year, and he ended up getting called up. But from your perspective, just being around the team a lot, kind of what stood out about his journey and kind of the role he's carved out with the team this year?
Well, the first thing that stands out to me is he actually was traded twice. So he was traded, I think he was drafted in 2021 by the Atlanta Braves. So whoever picked him in the 14th round really can scout. So that scout needs to get some sort of award for the Atlanta Braves. I mean, 14th round out of Wash U, Division III program, put up good numbers. at the Division III level. Also played summer baseball, which was important for him. I think he played for the Dock Spiders. In fact, he played with Pat Murphy's son, Kai Murphy, for the Dock Spiders, for the Fond du Lac Dock Spiders. And that's where actually Murph saw him for the first time and fell in love with him, fell in love with his style of play. Yeah, fell in love with his style of play, and you can see why. So not only, okay, so this is a perfect example. The thing that stands out with Caleb Durbin for me. So once he was traded over from the Braves to the Yankees, then the Brewers flipped Devin Williams with 1 year left of his 1 year left of control left. For quite frankly, I thought was one of the best closers in the game when he was with Milwaukee, and he has not had a great year with the Yankees, but the Brewers flipped him for Caleb Durbin and the lefty I'm blanking on right now. Nestor Cortez. That was then traded to the Padres at the trade deadline. But the thing that stands out with Caleb Durbin and why a Pat Murphy would fall in love with him is because, yes, he was scrappy. And remember, Pat Murphy coached some of the scrappiest players at Arizona State, undersized players that just kind of like, basically Pat Murphy has an eye for these kinds of guys that just totally ball out. Don't forget about Dustin Pedroia, right? At Arizona State.
Pedroia there at Arizona State, and like Brett Wallace and Jason Kipnis and those guys. Okay,
Kipnis, a great example. Isn't he an Illinois guy as well?
Yeah, he is. Glenbrook, North,
and an Andre Ethier. Just very good baseball players that that might not pass the eye test when you look at them in a uniform the first time, right? But Caleb Durbin passes the eye test once you watch him play literally one game. This is a 5'7" stocky right. The first time I saw him play third base, I thought to myself, absolutely not. That's not going to work. That was in spring training this year. He's turned himself into an above-average third baseman at the big league level. Like maybe one of the best third basemen at the big league level, just the way that he hasn't made errors and he's made the rangy play like over and over again. So he's just proven it to everybody that he can play. And when I talk about what I said, one of my first comments was be coachable but not too coachable. That's Durbin in a nutshell, because this is a guy that believes in himself. Talking about an ultra confident belief in himself. I mean, it is awesome to see. Actually, maybe they breed that in Illinois. I think that they do, that kind of mindset of a super confident player that just is proven everybody wrong, that he not only is a big leaguer, because there was a lot of doubt whether or not he would be a big leaguer, even he played at AAA level last year, didn't make the team out of spring training this year, was in AAA Nashville for the first month to 6 weeks of the season, and then has come up and again has proven everybody that not only is he a big leaguer, but he is an everyday big leaguer, and a pretty valuable one at that. And so that's what's been so impressive to me about Caleb Durbin is the belief in himself. And it is rare. Like, I remember watching Justin Turner, who is actually a Chicago Cub right now. I remember playing with him when I was with the New York Mets in 2012. He was an up-and-down player, AAA big leagues, and he was a utility player by the time he was with the Mets at this point. And I remember talking to Turner, JT, thinking, this guy believes that he is better than David Wright. He actually really believes it. And he then got non-tendered by the Mets, signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers, and the rest is history. Like, this is one of the better third basemen in the 2010s in all of baseball.
Huge for the Dodgers.
So yes. So the point is that confidence, that belief. Yes, it's the hard work. Yes, it's the gonna do anything I can to knock down walls that are in front of me. But it's that belief that coaches and managers look for. Durbin has that. Other players have that. It sticks out. It sticks out and stands out like a sore thumb. It really does. And Durbin has that.
With how much failure is in the game of baseball, you have to have some sort of belief. And those guys, it sounds like, just take it to another level. A guy, to me, sticking on Illinois prospects who have, impacted the Brewers, but a guy for me that probably or could have really been struggling with his confidence was Quinn Priester. First round pick out of high school, got to see him a bunch, elite level talent, was with Pittsburgh for a while, then got traded a couple times, finds his footing here with the Brewers. And you could tell me the impact he's had on the Brewers, but I just look at the numbers. I look at, the adjustments he's made, and couldn't be happier for Quinn. I wish he was doing it for the Cubs or something rather than the Brewers, but I get it. So, yeah, what have you seen there since he's come over?
So this is a little bit of a different story just in terms of that confidence and belief than a Caleb Durbin. He has had to get with the right group of coaches to help him because he got beat up. Remember, he got beat up in the big leagues. He came over to the Brewers at a 6.23 ERA in his career with the Pittsburgh Pirates at the big league level with success at the AAA level. So he would come up. They would kind of tinker with his mechanics too much. They would tinker with his pitch usage and maybe just his pitch design a little bit too much. And they forgot about the fact that this kid is a 18th overall pick in 2019 draft out of Cary Grove High School for a reason, because he's an exceptional athlete. Remember, you guys helped me out kind of doing my homework and research on him just in terms of what he was able to do on the football field.
Exactly.
A two-way athlete.
They can really run
then they run the option, even played some wide receiver his senior year, I believe. Played for the legendary coach at Cary Grove High School. And so Chris Hook got him to so he's the pitching coach for the Milwaukee Brewers, probably the best pitching coach. They also have Jim Henderson, who probably is going to get a pitching coach job at some point, a head job for a different organization very, very soon, unless the Brewers do something about it. Because they got him to get back to basics. They got him to really stay in his delivery a little bit better. They shortened up his front arm. It's kind of a little bit all over the place, wild. Just some old school pitching instruction they gave to Quinn Priester, and it's done wonders for him because all of a sudden now he does have that belief in himself. He does understand that his stuff does play in the zone at the big league level, and it plays exceptionally well. He's got a power sinker. We've seen it up to 96, 97 at times. Nasty, disgusting slider. Like, these were the guys I had nightmares about as a right-handed hitter at the professional level. Like, I couldn't hit sinker-slider guys. Quinn Priester has probably the best sinker-slider combination in baseball. He can also really spin a curveball. In high school, you guys remember him having a great changeup.
Yeah.
He hasn't even thrown the changeup this year.
Interesting.
So, yeah, he's kind of using the cutter at the top of the zone against lefties. And so Quinn, and everything, this kid is just off the charts in terms of makeup. So everything you hear from him, listen to an interview that he gives, everything is we've gotten the sinker to the arm side a little bit better. We've gotten, we are staying in the delivery a little bit better. That's just a little subtle thing that I pick up on that I know you guys all pick up on when you're scouting players. Like, he's got the mindset talking about, he's never talking about himself. It's about the team. And as a result, he won 19 games. He didn't win 19 decisions in a row. He won 13 in a row. It's a Brewers franchise record. But when he took the ball, he won 19 games. The Brewers won 19 games in a row when he took the ball. He was one away from the major league record.
That's I did not know
from Roger Clemens. This is a special player, a special pitcher, and the Brewers have him for, I think, 5 more years of control. This was an under-the-radar trade that they made in April, probably the biggest trade of the year. The Brewers would not be in the playoffs probably right now. Or they might be in the playoffs right now, but they wouldn't be as strong, certainly, as they are with Quinn Priester, and he's not starting tonight's game. He's going to probably come in as an opener or after the opener. Aaron Ashby takes the ball. But he has been so much fun and just a great, great kid. And he grew up a Cubs fan, and now he's pitching against the Cubs in Game 2 of the NLDS. It's a cool story.
I remember his mom being a huge Cubs fan. Would wear Cubs, gear to his games at Cary Grove and stuff like that. So that is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I have something I want to get into in a little bit, but on that Aaron Ashby opener part, okay, we just talked at length about how good Quinn has been all season. Maybe talk on the decision to use Priester as the piggyback guy tonight. Obviously, for people at home, we're recording this on Monday, so Game 2 has not happened yet. Hopefully by this time, for the Cubs listeners, they're not down 2-0 on Wednesday when this releases. But maybe just talk on that decision to use Ashby as an opener tonight and with Priester in relief.
Yeah, so the Cubs. So this is interesting because part of the data and the research, which is a huge part of the game, as we all know, and it's a huge part of what we do at Prep Baseball and taking a look at all the metrics. But they found that the Cubs are one of the best teams against sinkers and really good against cutters. So those are two pitches that the Brewers, or that Quinn Priester has implemented in his arsenal that has had a lot of success this season. And so what the Brewers are finding and have found out through that is they've understood, okay, so maybe let's kind of lighten the load in terms of how many times through the order Quinn Priester has to face the Cubs, especially those lefties, right? So Michael Busch has been super hot. He's a left-handed hitter. And Kyle Tucker is obviously one of the best players in all of baseball, left-handed hitter. PCA starting to swing the bat really well here in the playoffs, so left-handed hitter. So maybe just matchup-wise, they're going to throw Aaron Ashby to maybe get through, hopefully one time through the order. That might be a tall task, because it could potentially be 3 innings. For Aaron Ashby, he has gone multiples a bunch of times this season, but his pitch count hasn't been that high as of late, so maybe he's not stretched out enough. And he just threw game 1. He threw an inning and a third in game 1. And so let's see how deep he can get into this outing, just to maybe, again, give Quinn just that reprieve against some of those tough lefties that the Cubs are deploying here at the top of their batting order. So that's kind of the strategy there, is to maybe Quinn would only face those guys twice instead of 3 times. But I'm betting on this kid to get through those guys no matter what, just because he's going to have that adrenaline pumping, and he's pitching with such confidence right now. And the Brewers love playing behind this guy. The Brewers' defense has been unbelievable this year, especially behind Quinn, getting all those ground balls.
I just love hearing about, this cat and mouse game potentially between both managers, right? Because if you're the Cubs, do you switch around the lineup to make it a little bit more advantageous for Chicago, knowing, hey, we're facing Ashby first, but Priester's coming in? Do you maybe stack the lefties somewhere or something like that? But I like hearing about that cat and mouse game. Looking at this series, right? By the time this comes out, it could potentially be 2-0 Brewers, or it's knotted up at 1. For Milwaukee, for you, what are the keys for them to come out of this series on top?
Yeah, so, man, this is a tough series, and this is, to me, how amazing are these playoffs so far, right? With Cubs, Brewers, you have Philly, LA, you have a pretty good matchup so far with Detroit and Seattle, and then you have Toronto just beating the tar out of the Yankees so far, up 2-0, which is great to see, by the way. So for the Brewers, I think just I'm telling you, like, Pat Murphy has such a pulse on this team. The fact that he knew, like, we're not going to bring 40,000 fans in to watch them scrimmage each other. We're just going to take it easy. We're going to have fun, and we're going to have some live BPs, and we're going to take batting practice. And, it seemed like, and I wasn't there, but it seemed like it was real lax and just allowed the team just to kind of reset their batteries and recharge. And then they came out like gangbusters in game 1, scoring 9 runs in the first 2 innings. Now, I'm not expecting or really calling for the Brewers need to do that again in order to beat the Cubs and go up 2-0 on them, and just come out and bat around a couple of times in the first 2 innings and score 9. But I am saying that it is a key for the Brewers to get to Shota tonight early, because we've seen what he can do, especially when he establishes that good forkball split finger pitch down in the zone, and when he has really good feel for it. I think if you knock him back on his heels a little bit, especially early in the game, it makes sure that you do kind of put him on the defensive early and score a couple of runs on him early in the game, and don't let him get comfortable on the mound, especially at American Family Field. That's when they have gotten to him in the past. Is when they've gotten to him early, and then he never really established that feel for the good split finger forkball that he has. So that's going to be a key for them. And then I do think it's a key for them to go up 2-0. I really do, because the Cubs, at Wrigley, they're tough, right? So if you split and you go 1-1 and then the Cubs go back home in front of the great fans, and I am calling them great fans. I do like to have some fun moments and troll the Cub fans a little bit, but it's all in good fun. I think the rivalry is great for the game. But if you do give the Cubs an opportunity to split at American Family Field and then go home to Wrigley, it's going to be tough sledding and an uphill battle for the Brewers to win the series.
Well, it'll be interesting here when this podcast comes out on Wednesday to be able to look back at some of these comments. But you mentioned this little scrimmage that the Brewers did. Like, it just gave me such college vibes. I loved it. Like a throwback to like an Arizona State fall, like the Fall World Series or something. And guys are giving each other grief. And I loved that they were giving the umpire a bunch of, the balls. He was calling ball strikes, but he's like I think he's the Brewers bullpen coach or something like that.
He's a good friend of mine, Charlie Green, one of the best in the game. Yeah.
So, yeah. I loved it, seeing the clips come out of that. But you watch 162 of these games. You're locked in. We talked about Caleb Durbin, Quinn Priester. Like, is there a guy that you're just like, man, that's my guy when it comes to the Brewers, or somebody that you really enjoy his style, maybe the way he takes at bats? I don't even know. I just kind of want to open it up to you to give somebody a shout out.
Yeah. There are a bunch actually on this team, and that's why the team has played so well this year, because they're such a cohesive group and they're playing for each other. It does feel like a college team at the big league level. I haven't actually ever seen anything like this, to be quite honest. But I'll mention Blake Perkins. So switch hitter, a career OPS under 700, third year in the big leagues. Probably the best defensive center fielder I think I've seen. I mean, there's some good ones I've seen over the years, but this dude is as smooth as silk out there in center. He just continually robs home runs like it's no big deal. Like, he'll do it and just be like, it's so easy for him to do it. The closing speed. I mean, he's just so much fun to watch out in center field. He made a game-saving throw at home plate. He's got an absolute cannon. The throw was, I think, 98 miles per hour. But it doesn't look like it because, again, everything he does on the baseball field is so easy. Switch hitter. Talk about a team guy. That's all he cares about is the team winning. He literally couldn't care less about his own personal accolades. Is he the guy that you would put and pencil in center and into the lineup just in terms of his offensive potential? No. There's other offensive alignments that you could kind of deploy to have a more potent offense. But for me, he is a must-play every single game in the playoffs here in October because of the game-changing defense, but also because how many times have we seen it in the playoffs, guys, at any level, right? A big game at any level. Could be high school, could be one of these games we're watching at The Rock or in Rantoul, or at the college level, where it's like the most unexpected offensive player is coming up with the biggest hit or the biggest series and is named the MVP of the whole thing, right? That's the kind of performance you could potentially get from a Blake Perkins because he's capable of that, but also he's just a winner, and he's just a guy that he's easy to love. I actually tweeted a thing that his at bat is like, what a gamer, love him, because it's easy to say about a guy like Blake Perkins, kind of guy you want in the trenches with you.
I'm looking forward to locking in on this guy because I have not seen much of him at all.
Vinny, I kind of want to put you on the spot now. I know there's probably some bias with the Brewers, but as the lone unbiased guy in this series, being the Reds fan that we're watching this series from our couches, what do you got? Who's going to win this series? Maybe in how many games? We were talking off air, like, I'm kind of rooting for whoever wins this series to win it all. In the world of Major League Baseball, entering the year, NL Central was supposed to be this huge joke of a division, ends up sending 3 teams to the playoffs. So, with that being said, what do you got? Probably the Brewers, but in how many games? What are you thinking?
Yeah. I have to say the Brewers are going to win the series. I certainly can't come on a podcast as one of the voices of the broadcast team of the Brewers, and then can you imagine the amount of trolling that would happen for me?
Totally.
On Twitter. So I'm going to say the Brewers are going to win the series, It's not going to be. I don't foresee this being like a sweep or anything like that. I could potentially even see it going to 5 games, just because again the Cubs are so tough at home at Wrigley, especially they're tough. As of late, I feel like the wind has been blowing in at the friendly confines, right? So, and that for me, that's an advantage Cubs, because they're so good at throwing, pitching to the elements, meaning like, fly balls, 4-seamers at the top, and getting a lot of fly balls, especially with Shota and Matthew Boyd. Those 2 guys are the 2 top starters. Cade Horton being out is actually, a huge plus for the Brewers. I'm all hoping that he's okay long run. It looks like he will be, but that's a tough loss for the Cubs. That's going to be probably a big advantage for the Brewers, because I do think the starting rotation for the Cubs is a little bit thin at this point. And then we'll see what kind of version. I think Jose Quintana is going to get the ball game 3. What version the Brewers are going to get from him. This is a 13-year big leaguer. Talk about a winner. This guy is so fun to be around. 13-year big leaguer, and was a South Sider for a long time with the White Sox before he was traded over to the Cubs. And so he has never won a World Series ring. So he's top 10 active pitchers, most starts career, and yet he does not have a World Series ring. He really wants it. And so I think that want and that desire to win for Quintana, I think, is going to have him showing up being the best version of himself. So slight advantage Brewers. It's going to be evenly matched, and I'm looking forward to a hard-fought 5-game series. Probably goes the distance, quite frankly.
Let's hope. I mean, I would love it. I would love it if we're back in the mix at Wrigley and it's a series. And, I think the vibes in Chicago would be awesome. Jose Quintana, I loved him as a White Sox even. One of my favorite pitchers growing up was Johan Santana. The fastball changeup, 95% of his mix was fastball changeup, and it was so filthy. And I thought Quintana was like the next Santana. So we'll see. Hopefully we can knock him around a little bit.
So Vinny, this is not really series related, but just kind of your day to day throughout the regular season. What does that look like for you? You're doing a lot of prep for those games. You're always on top of it. I think a couple years ago I was at a game and talked to you there, and just seeing you kind of have a piece of paper. It looked like you're doing prep probably during the game for your post-game show. But what does that look like for you throughout the season?
Yeah, so it depends if I'm doing the pre- and post-game show, if I'm on for that, or if I'm doing – so you mentioned play-by-play. I wish I was that talented in terms of broadcasting. So some of the guys that I work with, Brian Anderson, going to be a Hall of Famer at some point. He's actually a finalist for the Ford C. Frick Award this season. Brian Anderson, voice of the Brewers. He is, to me, the best in the game. He creates such drama. Not far behind him is Jeff Levering, who also does play-by-play. So I do. So he's phenomenal as well. So love working with those 2 guys as play-by-play. I'm actually the color commentator, the analyst on the game. So I did about 50 of those this year and about 70 pre- and post-game shows for my prep for those. So when I'm doing color, that is pretty intense, my prep for that. So I scouted after I got done playing for the Texas Rangers. I was a pro scout for 4 years, and that's kind of the approach I've taken to how to broadcast and how to provide color analysis. I get into the weeds pretty good on every single player. I try to get better. And it's a work in progress just in terms of how I present some of that information. I try to react more in-game when I'm doing color as to what's happening in the game, but also trying to have the mindset of, okay, the fan that is casually watching, I want to bring something interesting to them that's not over their head. And that's a hard needle to thread. I wasn't good at that. My first couple of years, I was getting really in the weeds on things. At times, I still do that, but that's kind of by design at times as well. So long story short, I try to really come up with some interesting concepts and ideas for the fans to be entertained as to what they're watching on the field. And when I'm doing pre- and post-game show, I kind of try to do the same thing, but we get a little bit more specific on each individual player, and we do little breakdowns as well. And so those take some time. I try and be really prepared is the answer. And for the color analysis that takes hours before a series, and then once you get into the series, I do maybe a couple hours of prep work before the games before I get to the ballpark. But that, in a nutshell, is what my day looks like before, and then you get to the ballpark well in advance, and you get more information from the coaches and the players if you have some questions to ask them about what you see in game, and you get into the weeds a little bit with them on that. But then again, you can present it in a way that is digestible to the fan when you're in the game. But that, in a nutshell, is what I do before the games. But it is so much fun. I'm so lucky I have the best job in the world, not only as the Wisconsin prep baseball scouting director, but also to be able to be on the broadcast for the Brewers. It is a dream job. Both of them are. I'm very lucky. And the fact that we can cover, and I'm kind of transitioning to the prep baseball side of things, the fact that we can cover what we cover in the state of Wisconsin and kind of shine that bright light on players in the state of Wisconsin, and kind of following suit of what you guys do here in Illinois. Drew, you supervise both states, but Gavin and Deffy, you guys all do such a phenomenal job covering the state of Illinois, and then we kind of try to follow suit in the state of Wisconsin. And there's a lot to cover. My goodness, there's a lot of talented players in both states as of late.
What I love, Vinny, is the preparation you're talking about for like the Brewers. Like that carries over to what we do. Whether it's prepping for events, and when you're going through rankings with Wisconsin players, you having that, all of the experience that you've had, but also like, hey, the pro scouting side, asking certain questions like, hey, are we sure we like this guy versus this guy? Have you thought about this? And just the wisdom and the preparation and the experience and the expertise is, I don't know, we're very lucky to have you, and thank you for jumping on this pod.
Well, and last thing, you're welcome, and it's an honor actually to work alongside you guys. It truly is. So I heard this from my friend Charlie Green, who is that bullpen coach of the Brewers, is when you take a job in this game, it's not a hobby. That's like the thing that line that he told me, this was a few years back. Like, there are people that make it a hobby, and you could tell, like, okay, they're not serving the game the best way that they can, and they're not serving players the best way that they can. So don't make it a hobby. Love it, and I do, and it's been so much fun. I know you guys don't make it a hobby either. This is what you guys eat, breathe, and sleep, baseball, and serve the players in both states, and it's, again, a privilege and an honor to work alongside you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on, Vinny. Always a pleasure. I know we were super grateful that you were going to do this and talk about the Brewers-Cubs series and just kind of break down some of the Brewers players, but go Cubs. Hopefully they can catch a win tonight.
All right. I won't say go Brewers, but I'll think it.
All right,
guys. Appreciate it.